one, boom, go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Off the Lip Radio Show live from the Santa Cruz boardroom. Neil, show number 732.
32.
732. We got the doc back.
How many appearances is this doctor? What do you think? Like five?
5 or 6.
5 or 6 appearances. He keeps coming back.
You keep inviting me back.
Well, for good
And he keeps
reason.
saying yes.
Because Surfer's Ear is an epidemic here in Santa Cruz,
Right.
and the doc knows because he's the one that's fixing everybody. So once again, we got to remind you guys to use common sense. Maybe some plugs. We're going to talk about that.
Well, you know, there's another way to prevent the problem. Never fall off your surfboard.
Yeah.
Well, but can't it happen when you sit on it though, and the wind's blowing in there? No.
I mean, if you got some splash, but if
You gotta get it wet.
If you're so good, you never fall off your surfboard. You don't need to wear earplugs.
Hey.
It's that simple.
Question: since the amount of surfers has increased by 99%, are you seeing more people in your office?
We just have kind of a steady flow. I think
Yeah.
there's going to be probably about a 10-year lag. I mean, if somebody takes up surfing today, it would take them about 10 years to get in trouble with their ears if they were in the
But
ocean
don't some
long.
people have it worse than others? Some people don't get it.
Yeah.
Some people,
oh, yeah.
right?
There's
Hey.
individual variation. Some people have more of a
Huh.
tendency to form
His
bones.
schedule's full.
Yeah.
I mean,
What's if I make an appointment? I call up today to make an appointment. What are we talking? You're like,
You tomorrow.
yeah, on one condition. You know what the condition is, don't you?
Bring a
remember
Subway?
remember the condition? Subway sandwich.
I've got to change my standards, but something along those lines will
Yeah.
work every time.
Do you remember that?
yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But still, we're not seeing a decrease in surfers here, right?
No.
You're seeing this.
Well, I mean, you know, people have problems and they seek me out. So I'm not out there seeing the whole population. I mean, if you were at the beach and looked in everybody's ear that came out of the water, there'd probably be a whole lot of people that ears look great.
Right.
But, you know, the people that are having trouble know how to find their way to me, and we help
I know personally, after like your 6th or 7th plugged ear for 2 weeks, after your 6th or 7th aching ear, you start seeking medical help. Like, how long did it take you, Neil,
What?
before you said, I got to go see the doc?
I was reading your lips.
Yeah, but how many times
Oh.
But did that was like your 10th time you had to?
Yeah.
So that's
Well, and that's why, you know, I wait for patients to make the decision. It's not my decision. Like, oh, you have to have surgery or you shouldn't have surgery. It's like, are you having problems? And do you not like those problems? And then if you don't, I've got a way I can help you.
right.
But if you're tolerating it, you got a lot of narrowing, you don't want surgery, that's fine. We'll try to clean things out and, you know, string it along.
We've had you on the show pretty much every year for about the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Has there been changes in how you deal with surfer's ear since the beginning of the?
I mean, there's been a few instruments we've kind of evolved, and there's little minor things like at the end of the operation, I used to put some little gelatin stuff in the ear canal. I don't do that anymore, which is antibiotic ointment. But the general principles are still about the same. The instrumentation changed a little bit. It's evolving a little bit, but I've been using this particular technique for the last 24 years, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's a technique you invented, pretty much, right?
I'd say I evolved. I mean, people were
Okay.
using chisels to take bone out of ear canal in the 1800s, but obviously things have evolved a long way. And I first became aware of some people who were using a technique like it in 1997. And then I'd say over the next 6 months to a year, we developed some instrumentation, kind of evolved it over that period of time. Since then, I mean, the most dramatic changes were in that first year when I was doing these things. And since then, it's been very incremental changes, but the fundamental principles are kind of staying the same.
And you have taught other people your technique.
Yeah.
And you do that because you want to make sure people are healthier? Because it seems like it's teaching people your secrets almost.
I don't need to corner the market on this. I mean, I got
No.
plenty of work. So there's a surgeon that came from Japan. He practiced in Osaka. He's come 3 times. He's kind of like this outpost in the Pacific. So if somebody out in the Pacific area wants, who can I go to that's close to where I live, I give him his name. There was a guy that came from Bordeaux, France, similarly, for the European population. I've given talks in South Africa. So there's surgeons in the Cape Town area in a town called Knysna that are using a technique similar to this. There was a surgeon that came from New Jersey. And then I think there are surgeons that are picking up on it in various places, parts of the U.S. So it's gradually kind of spreading out a little bit
South
more.
Africa?
Yeah.
You had that one doctor, what was his name? He's one of the best guy down there now, too, right?
Well,
Wasn't there a
so
guy?
there's about 3 guys down there, I think, that are using the technique. But a guy named Martin Young actually hosted me. He lives in Knysna, but also operates in Cape Town.
Are there spikes in other, because I mean here we're Surf City, USA. Are there spikes in other countries that you know about because surfing's taken off there recently?
In terms of the ear problems?
Yeah, ear
or-
problems.
Well, any place where the water's cold. And the colder the water, the more of an issue. Actually, we're in kind of a sweet spot here because people are surfing Alaska and Norway and Iceland. and they're probably in neoprene head to toe, they may have less of an issue there because they're probably covered with neoprene from the day that they start.
Right.
Whereas here, you're going to put your wetsuit on because it's cold, but you may not do anything to protect your ears because it's not really an issue right away.
Can you explain what surface ear is? What happens to the ears?
So this thing called surfer's ear, and actually the name was first applied to it by Dr. Dan Seftel, who was an ENT here in Santa Cruz. And he published a paper in 1977. That was the first time the word appeared in the medical literature. And he was calling it that because he was seeing so many surfers that had bone growths in the ear canal. So what happens is if you spend enough time in cold water, the inner part of the ear canal has paper-thin skin. It's a very poor insulator. The effect of cold water hitting down in that area is it causes some blood to congest in that thin skin. That puts pressure on a layer called periosteum. Periosteum generates new bone in response to pressure. So you have a flat surface, layer upon layer upon layer of bone forms like this, and then these various knobs form that cause people trouble. And again, it's so prominent in the surfing population because you're dipping in and out of cold water. Interestingly, I had the chance to look in the ears of some of the old-time Santa Cruz Surf Club guys from the 1940s who were riding longboards at Cowles. Most of those guys, the ones I examined, didn't have much bone growth at all. They were staying high and dry, a couple rides, and go to the beach and get next to the fire.
Right.
They're not duck diving. So when the wetsuit came along, commercialized in the 1950s by Jack O'Neill, in the 1970s they were talking about surfer's ear because people duck diving through these cold waters repeatedly over thousands of hours.
Then they were surfing the Cowles and Indicator with a big channel.
Right.
They'd catch a wave, but they were swimming after their boards, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, so they got somewhat wet, but they were going to freeze.
And you got explain. You got two ways of doing the surface ear. The surgeons do the old method, which is they pull the ear back, right?
Yeah. Well, there's you can throw even more variations, but the main two schools of thought, and what was taught traditionally, and is still the predominant technique throughout the world, is make a cut behind the ear, peel this ear away from the skull, peel the skin out of the ear, ream it out with a drill, put everything back, put a bunch of packing, put stitches behind, put a big dressing on here.
That's just got to be the worst thing you can think of in your
life. Well, there've been plenty of people in this town that have had that surgery done.
And how long until you're back surfing after that surgery?
I have to defer to those surgeons that use that technique predominantly. I think usually you're talking weeks to months. And you're not going to do both ears at one operation, and you can't really lay on that side. But my issue with trying to evolve something new was the issue of putting a drill in somebody's ear generates a tremendous amount of noise.
Right.
And that in itself can do damage to hearing. So
it seems like the damage to the skin would be insane.
Well, they're trying to get it way out of the way so that they don't get shredded by the drill. And then you got to put it all back, but you're just disrupting blood supply and all that sort of thing.
That sounds
I
terrifying.
remember last time I still have the app on my phone. You gave it to me last time, but you can check the noise decibels.
Yes.
NA something it was called, right?
Can I grab this real quick for you?
Yeah.
So I brought that sheet along again.
So if you go to a concert, which we have
We have a lot of live music.
We've had a lot of live music.
We've had some loud bands in here.
Right.
So here you go.
NIOSH Slim. That's it. That NIOSH
NIOSH
SLM. Yeah.
So NIOSH is the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. So they have this free app that measures volume on your phone. And so I've got it on my phone. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little test here in a second. And it just measures environmental sound. And so it can give you instantaneous volumes. So normally when we're talking, conversation volume is around 70 decibels. I don't know what's showing up on there now.
80, well, 73,
Okay.
72, yeah.
Okay, let's do a little sound test here. Let's all yell at the same time on
All right.
3. 1, 2, 3.
112.
What do we get?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we sustain that,
Nice job, team.
so if we sustain that for a long enough period of time, we would be doing damage to our ears. And
What's a rock concert? Even if you're in
those can get up pretty loud.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the 70s, they were competing to see how loud they could get.
Yeah.
And like AC/DC and some of these bands, like 135 decibels or something. It's like, you could hear them from blocks away. People lost
You
hearing
could
at
feel it
those
go through your
concerts.
body. You could feel the
Yeah,
sound go.
yeah.
That's the
was bad.
ringing? If your ears ring after a concert, have you done damage?
You've done a little temporary damage. Fortunately, that may sort of recover. But we all have a certain amount of reserve in our hearing. And if we start killing off the nerves, we use up the reserve. And so your hearing may seem like it's okay, and then you kind of fall off a cliff, and then it's changed, and you can't go back and undo the damage. So they have standards in terms of how much volume you should expose yourself to. So that same organization, NIOSH, would say for an 8-hour day in a work environment, sustained 85 decibels should be okay for most people. Every 3 decibel increase, you cut the exposure time in half. Because it's a logarithmic scale, it's actually a doubling of energy. So 88 decibels, 4 hours. 91 decibels, 2 hours. Until you get up to at 100 decibels, it's like 15 minutes. 115 decibels, 30 seconds.
Wow.
And my wife and I were at a concert at SAP and at the performer should go nameless. They were cranking at 150 decibels. I've got earplugs in, and
You took your phone out.
I took my phone
and
out.
you
It's
tested
115 decibels, and there are thousands of people there who didn't have ear protection. Some of those people, I mean, the vast majority of those people lost hearing at that event. It's no question. They had to have lost hearing.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
damaged their hearing nerves. If you're a young person, you
Yeah.
get reserve, and you may not notice it so much. If you're a little bit older, you don't have as much reserve, and you're going to start noticing things more.
Not like surface ear, the bone doesn't grow back at that time because of trying to protect your eardrum, right?
From sound?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so surfer's ear doesn't affect sound unless there's a major infection, maybe, right?
Well,
Is that-
if you have total closure, if you use a pinpoint opening, you can have near perfect hearing. But if you lose, which is kind of amazing, but if you lose that pinpoint, if it's totally closed off, then the hearing will drop down sometimes 30 or 40 decibels.
Wow.
But usually, if it's a reversible thing like that, it's usually the skin swelling, and these areas down inside there are pretty small. I mean, like an open ear canal is about 7 millimeters, which is a little more than a quarter of an inch in diameter. And the volume of a normal ear canal is about 1/6 of a teaspoon. It's not a very big area. But that whole area can swell up with skin. Just if people have a wide open ear canal, you can get what's called swimmer's ear, which is infection of the skin. And the skin can just balloon up. So a person with a wide open ear canal, no bone growth, they can totally close off there with swollen skin. So if you have a lot of closure by the bone, it doesn't take too much swelling of the skin to close off that last little bit.
Is each procedure different when you have people on the table ready to get?
Well, the principles are the same, but the actual procedure is going to be different because everybody's ears are different.
Different,
As far as how
like
they
if-
grow these things. Yeah,
Okay.
they're like fingerprints.
Yeah.
If you line up 100 people, everybody's ears look
So
different.
you study their ear before, not like you just dive in. You take a look at their.
Well, you can see, but again, the idea is the anatomy kind of reveals itself as you're proceeding, and it's sort of like you're starting from the outside, working your way in, and from the center to the periphery. And you sort of incrementally start shaving these things down.
Okay.
And the key landmark is the eardrum down inside. And in a lot of people, when you first look in, you cannot see any part of their eardrum. So you
Okay.
gotta
Can the
get a little
bone
out of
touch
the way.
the eardrum
Yeah.
too?
Oh yeah.
Attach itself?
Yeah.
So can you?
Wow.
We're gonna do our ears right now. So can you tell us what you've done, or who's the worst?
Well, I was going to ask
Of the
you
two
that.
of you?
Well,
Yeah,
no.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it right here.
How about the worst
One of
ever?
them-
I'm curious. The
Okay,
worst ever.
So one of the worst ever ones I saw, I had a
Yeah.
guy, he came out from the Outer Banks of North Carolina. He was a surfer on the East Coast. And I guess the big waves, they're there in the wintertime. They get plenty of cold water exposure. This guy was in his early 30s, and he had earbuds in and his phone that he was using as an amplification device. And when we tested his hearing was down 70 decibels. I mean, that's like being functionally deaf. Early 30s, otherwise healthy guy. What I found when I got in there was the eardrum sits at kind of an angle. The bone on the front side had grown and pressed the skin up against a large area of the eardrum. It had a bunch of infections that all scarred together. So once I got the bone out, I still had all this skin stuck to the eardrum. I thought, I got to peel that away. I'm going to probably tear up the eardrum. Fortunately, it didn't. Got it separated. It came out of the normal hearing. But that's about as bad as it can get. I mean, the bone won't grow through the eardrum, but it can press the skin up to the eardrum.
Okay.
And that's about as bad
Personally,
as it gets.
you're like a tough one like that, and that's sounds like a tough. Like you get stuck in. Go, oh, I got a good one
Yeah.
here, right?
Well, the thing is,
Right?
you
Does
don't
that
know.
excite you? Or is that a challenge?
I mean, you try not to get, when you're doing microsurgery, you try not to get excited. You don't want to start shaking. So you gotta
Wait,
get, everything's got to stay
But
calm.
like this is like,
Everything's
I
gotta
got to
stay
get in
calm.
here.
This is so good. I can't wait to dig into
Well, you
it.
just have the sense that you're going to do this, you're going to make a real difference for this person.
Which-
yeah.
yeah.
You kind of know that going in with how bad his hearing was.
Neil, should we show the audience
let's go,
the
Chief.
perfect ear?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please.
We'll do my right ear.
They're TC's ears.
And you were saying earlier, Doc, that Santa Cruz people, their right ear tends to be worse.
There's the prevailing winds coming out of the north. So if you're sitting on your board looking out to the waves and the north wind's hitting your right ear, you might have more of a chilling effect on that. So can you see the screen between us
Yeah.
here, or how are we going to do this?
Yeah, can you
You're
get in
not
there?
this too. You want to be in this?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so you can see the screen. I'm not going to block it.
No. Okay. No.
Folks,
no.
just want to warn you, this could be disturbing.
Yeah. Hide the kids.
Yeah, hide the kids.
Okay, so you can see the screen.
If you hang on.
Or let's set it up in some other way. Maybe stand over here.
Okay.
And
We'll
I'll
move this over
move
there.
this over this way.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And if I
Okay.
can
The state of TC's ears.
Warning.
if I can see the screen to see what I'm doing. Here we go.
Looks like crap, Doc. Is he?
So the
is
bones
he,
on the right are on the front
It's
wall.
like
He's got a bone prominence on the
Canyon.
left, which is the back wall. And then there's that dark
Grand
channel in
Canyon.
between is the channel down to the eardrum. Skin looks healthy, no signs of infection.
Wow,
So
that's good.
That's going to let sound through just fine. I mean, that's not going to affect your hearing much.
Hey, Doc, last time he was here, you took him to his office immediately and pulled out a Volkswagen from his ears, right?
I think it was this one or the other one? But yeah, there was a bunch
Is
of
he
stuff
okay
in there.
today? Is he
Yeah,
okay?
Not much wax.
I seem to be a wax collector.
And I was going to say on that screen, I think that's 35 power magnification. So scale down to how big that opening is. But that's about 35 power magnification on that 17-inch or 15-inch screen again.
If I was a normal person but I was having like ear problems, am I a candidate for that? If I was having problems, which I'm not currently having problems, is that a candidate for the procedure? You think? If I was having problems with it,
So my approach to this is I don't tell people they should or shouldn't have surgery. I like to be able to show them what they've got. They know what they've been experiencing as far as water trapping, infections, that kind of thing. So the individual has to make a decision, do I want to have surgery or can I manage things as they are? Can I use earplugs? Can I get the water out with alcohol drops or blow dryers or irrigation or whatever? If things are going to their satisfaction, they can live with it. They can live with it as long as they want.
it doesn't go away though, right?
It's not going to melt away.
Yeah, so that bone, I've grown that bone. It's there.
Yeah, I mean, you hear occasionally people people move away from the coast, they have kids, they don't have time to get in the ocean. Maybe it regresses to some slight degree, but those are not going to melt away. I mean, once you got the established bone, it's going to stay pretty much established there.
Because like for me, like if I'm doing hot yoga as an example,
Right.
one drop of sweat, I can't hear a thing.
Right. I've had that.
Yeah,
You're close.
I know. One drop
Be
of sweat.
close.
Bump.
So Neil, do you want to go on the camera
Yeah,
for
yeah.
everybody?
Let's get you on here. Let's do a contest. We're very competitive.
Well, let's see.
Whose ear's worse?
You can face. Which one? Okay, I just have to
Okay, we got to remind the viewers.
Just a little bit.
You have had surgery.
Yeah,
Neil.
both
So what
ears.
we're looking at now, we're going to be looking at how bad your ears have become.
And how long
right?
did you have surgery? Remember?
How long ago was that? Like 8 years ago?
I would say that's about right. And I just want to say, Doc,
Don't say it.
it's like a pearl or something weird.
So that's the skin covering the bone growth. Right.
He's got a lot of wax in there. Or is that hashish? What are you just smuggling in there? It could be.
So he's got a little tiny channel at the bottom. He's got a bigger channel at the top down to the eardrum.
Oh,
That's my dealer.
yeah, your dealer's calling. You got the hash?
And now let's have a look at the other side. Let's show the other side.
Okay, so we're checking the other one. So, Doc, is that normal growth return? Oh, hold on. This one, this is where the hash is. Yep, there it is.
What's that brown, sludgy looking stuff?
I think real
That's your
stoners
wax.
call it like
It's okay.
splatter.
It's
or
good to have
something.
some wax in your ears. It keeps the skin moist. Don't try to get it all out. Leave it alone. It's fine.
But he does have the canal at the bottom.
So you've got like this hourglass configuration. So there's some space in the bottom, which should be favorable for letting water out and sound
Okay,
through.
I'm
And
good.
then there's one loose
I'm
hair up
good.
there. Yeah.
All right.
And so when you chiseled his ear, was that all gone?
Yeah.
So since he's had surgery, it's grown back. Is that 50%?
We doing
Probably a
you?
little bit more than that.
Hey, get in there.
Nadia, you gonna see your ears?
Okay,
yet?
let's see.
And have you had balloons in your nose, Nadia?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it helps
I
with your
love it.
breathing?
My breathing just
Changed it.
so much better. No, I mean it just helps with breathing issues. Period.
Okay,
Just
you want to look at
opens
both
up all
ears?
of it.
Okay.
We'll look at both. So you're a model of a good
And
looking
you
ear.
surf?
No, I don't.
Okay, so this is a,
That's a perfect ear for you.
Pressure there.
and so this is a,
Her right ear, that's the little
That's
white
a
dot
good
is
one.
called the malleus. It's part of the bone, one of the bones behind the eardrum. Otherwise, everything is really good there. And then
there's
look
no
at the other
lumps in
side.
there. I'm so jealous.
And look at the other side.
Did you know that there's 3 bones, 3 tiny smallest bones
Yeah,
in each ear?
yeah, one of them's like the elbow or something. Or one is,
And then this one, she'd been on a flight and was doing some snorkeling, so there's a little bit of blood in her eardrum in
Yeah.
that one spot there.
This one's damaged a little bit.
A little bit. Otherwise, okay. No bone growths.
Wow. Well, you better start surfing. You got great
Lots of
ears
hair.
for it.
Right?
Yeah.
You gotta plug it up.
Yeah.
Doc, so you keep me, Doc. How long you been doing this? How long you been doing this?
Which,
This surface zero.
well, I mean, I came to Santa Cruz in 1988. In the first 10 years I was here, I did a drilling technique going down the ear canal, not making the cuts behind.
Yeah.
But it was really challenging to not tear up the skin a little bit. And again, still the issue of using the drill. So the technique I'm using now since about 1998, so 25 years I guess.
Are you keeping going and retire soon, or are you keeping going?
You know, I get that question just about every day.
Well,
Every
okay,
day?
no, but
And,
okay, forget the question.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Have you passed along your knowledge to somebody else locally that can take care of.
There's some people who will come and watch periodically, but I think I've got to kind of gear that up a little bit more because I want to have somebody carry on this work because
especially here, yeah.
Well, we ask shapers all the time. How many surfboards have you shaped?
Yeah.
Can we ask how many ears you've shaped?
As of last Friday, 3,334.
Damn good shaper right there.
It's
You're
shaper.
kind of shaping in a way. You're sculpturing.
Yeah.
It's that same sort of thing about
you're
it.
taking a material and redesigning it.
My ears were different to TC's, right? So, what makes the perfect? Can you make it? Can you get it back? Can you get it back to like it was supposed to be, like perfect? Or you just
Again, everybody's like, what's the basic thing is your temporal bone. That's where the new bone grows on top of that.
Yeah.
You can have different shapes to the temporal bone. You have different shapes to the cartilage, all
Right.
that kind of thing. So even at the end of the process, when people heal, the ears are going to look a little different because that's just their anatomy.
Yeah.
But the idea is you want to get rid of the overhangs, get rid of the convexities, you have a nice chute for water to flow out of there.
Yeah.
And basically make it as big as you can, but there are limits on all sides. On the front side, you got the jaw joint. On the back, you got the mastoid bone, the facial nerve. So you have to respect all that anatomy.
And you were on TV a little while ago, right? Did a TV ad, right?
The Santa Cruz Surgery Center wanted to do some ads. I said, I don't need ads for more patients, but let's do like a public service announcement about where plugs don't grow bone.
Did you?
And by the way,
What? He looked good.
stud muffin over here.
No, you know what?
He's like running down the beach. Yeah, that's stud
I'm
muffin.
getting to my question. How many autographs did you have you signed?
None.
He was on.
Oh my,
like,
damn, he looks good.
Well, World Series. He's on TV. You know,
Right.
like, it's,
It was during the That's right.
quite the budget.
I was surprised, yeah. I mean, that was a couple of years ago, I think they made that.
I don't
So they've been getting
remember.
a lot of mileage out of it.
He's on TV all the time. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does your wife enjoy that ad?
She thinks it's kind of funny. But the thing I like about that is I don't want to pass myself off. A lot of patients ask me, are you a surfer? Not really. I mean, I've done it on occasion, a little bit of stand-up paddling, but I just don't like immersing myself in cold water, even with the wetsuits. So when they did that commercial, I said, well, I'm willing to wear a wetsuit because I've done triathlons, open water swimming, but I'm not going to pose with a surfboard. So we got that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Accurate.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
And so, the retirement question.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have an exit strategy? Have you thought about this?
So I don't have any particular date set up, and I've had some people say, if you're going to do that, give us like a year advance notice. So I think I'm still good for a few more years.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Good.
And question I know because we always have a lot of surfers who watch the show and listen to the podcast. Earplugs obviously help, right? Hoods, wetsuit hoods.
Sure.
I mean, is there one or the other that you would recommend more?
People have tried to do a study on that, and it's kind of hard to do because things get kind of mixed up. People may use plugs for a while, may use hood for a while, maybe they use both for a while. And the paper that I saw, the data was kind of all over the place. But I think, the ultimate would probably be plugs and a hood. And if it was one or the other, if you had a really tight, if you could come out and your hair is dry, your hood was that good, that would probably be better than plugs. But it's whatever people are willing to wear.
Well, I wanted to show Neil. We had Justin from the Listening Stack.
The Listening Stack.
Yeah.
Justin from Listening Stack supports the show for a long time. And the last time you were here, we had these made. We all had our ears. Right, we had them made, didn't we?
Custom plugs,
right?
and you have these
They're
plugs.
great.
I know.
They're great.
I just want to first off, what Justin does is he molds these to your ear, so it's the best fit, probably, right?
Correct.
So you can say that. And he also offers for people who I hated plugs growing up surfing because I couldn't talk and hear, and I'm a social butterfly.
Yeah, you are.
But he puts a Kevlar patch in here that keeps the water out, but the
And-
sound in.
Yeah.
And to me, it was
No,
really a game
and
changer.
you're able to hear.
Yes, and it seals so well. So if you guys watching the show, if you have ear problems, contact Justin.
Justin
He keeps
Stack-
the mold on file, and he
Yeah.
has a rebuild program
Yeah.
that's affordable. The
Yeah.
first fix costs. What was it? Remember,
150
$100,
bucks,
200 bucks
Something like
maybe?
that.
Yeah. But it's totally worth it. And then if you lose one, which is always the question, and when they're custom fitted, they don't fall out,
Yeah.
which is nice.
That's Justin Stack at thelisteningstack.com. It's
Yes.
now he's on Seabright
He
Avenue.
moved to Seabright, but thanks to
Hang on a minute, hold
for
on.
getting us those.
Look, your neighbor brought Bud Light in here. Look at that.
Whoa!
The neighbor brought a 12-pack of Bud Light.
I like it.
Okay.
So earplugs, hood. This is not going away, right?
Correct.
I mean,
People
it's-
keep falling off their surfboards. If it wasn't for that, if they could keep their head dry, it wouldn't be a problem.
I feel like with my ears the way they are, it's kind of like the old saying, "I wish I wore sunscreen." I've been dealing with that in my skin, right? It's like I wish I would have pay more attention to my ears too.
Where's the question for you? You're not surfing much anymore. You haven't surfed
yeah.
in a while. Does it go backwards?
No.
Huh?
Not really.
It does
For maybe some minor degree, but
Doesn't
they're not going
does
to
not retract back
Not
to
really.
no. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still host.
All right. Now, does he have to go back to the office tonight? You pull something
No,
out
I
of
look
his ears?
good tonight, right?
We can leave it alone. He has some in the other ear. But
little
if
bit,
we want
yeah.
to leave it alone, we can leave it alone.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate the doc for that. Yeah.
Doctor, we love you coming on the show.
It's fun to be here.
Sorry about the crash.
Things happen.
You know.
I hope the car's okay. It looks
It's
like it'll
fine.
be okay.
It's
Yeah.
drivable.
You're the first guest to ever be in a car wreck on the way to the show, so we have to give you a trophy. We'll figure something out,
Yeah.
and make sure that we can commemorate this day.
We'll give him George.
It's a big day today. So
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to take it out on the track at the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds.
you can actually if you want.
I gotta save the
Yeah,
vehicle, I
we
think.
can do that. Thank you for being on the show.
Great to be
Always,
here. Good
it's
to see you
always
guys.
great to have you. You are the uno numero person to ever deal with this. In our
He's the
opinion.
guru.
Yeah, you
Right.
are the man.
It's been an interesting process.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people who thank you for allowing them to keep.
I
surfing.
do. I can
Yeah.
hear. Yeah.
And so we'll have you back.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Next year.
We'll have the
Next year.
retirement party
We're
here at the
retired.
boardroom too. We're gonna have a big blowout. Neil, next week, what's going on?
Valentine's Day, we're not doing a show. 'Cause
Oh,
you're
that's
out of
right.
town.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be dating.
Yeah.
And
And
making
then we got
sweet.
a bunch of future shows coming up. It's gonna be a lot
Okay,
of fun.
I love that. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Tyler Fox, Santa Cruz Waves. Thanks as always. If you're listening on the podcast, 2 hands on the wheel.
Yeah.
Let's keep you safe.
YouTube, iHeartRadio, all the podcast platforms.
We're
especially
everywhere.
YouTube. Check out the show.
And we will say again to Justin Listening Stack, thank you very much for the plugs. They are awesome. Jeremy Scribner passed away. We'll dedicate
yeah.
tonight's show to Jeremy.
Yep.
We had a great show with him. If you look on the Off Lip Radio Show website, you can watch that show too, where he
That's a
had
sad
some
deal.
humbling words. So good night, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Off Lip Radio Show.